Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have Ava Heiser joining us. Welcome on, Ava.
Thank you.
We're very excited to talk to Ava. She has a very unique topic of strengthening your faith in college. We're actually here at the Ohio State campus outside, which is a blessing. It's October and it's 70.
Day.
Yeah, exactly. So, Ava, you're a freshman at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Why is this topic important to you?
Okay, so when I first got here, I literally had no idea what I was doing. I knew I wanted to find a church group. So we had like an involvement fair. I walked around. There's so many different like church groups on campus, and there was one that really spoke to me, and I rolled with it, and it's strengthened my faith like more than it's ever been in my life.
I love that. So it's a group that you started going to,
Yes.
and through that they led you closer to Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my questions is, so how has your relationship with Jesus changed since going to college? Because obviously that's a big adjustment in your life.
Yeah.
Not with family anymore. You're on your own.
Yeah.
Your faith is on your own. So it has strengthened, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Junior and senior year, actually, I thought it was pretty strong. And, like, we went to Kairos, which, have you explained Kairos before?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a Kairos leader, and my faith was pretty strong. I was pretty independent with it. Just kind of going to church on my own and doing my own thing. And so I kind of had, like, a head start coming here.
Yeah.
And it was just, yeah.
Was it intimidating coming to college and being like,
Oh,
I don't know what we're going to do here? Like,
for sure. Because I didn't know, like, what each organization was like, what to trust, what felt, like, good to me, and, like, resonated with my beliefs.
Yeah. So you ended at SALT. That's the organization that you've been
Yes.
going to. Heard many great things about it.
Yeah.
If you go to Ohio State, you should check it out.
For sure.
Go talk to Ava. But before that, did you try any other organizations, or is it just one and done?
Yeah, so I kind of did some research before I came here, and there was one I found, Crew.
Okay.
I forget what it stands for, but I went to one of their worship nights the first week, and it was really nice. And then I never, like, followed up with it. Like, it didn't feel like something that spoke to me, so I kept searching.
Yeah. I think that's a problem that we find with a lot of organizations and retreats, is they'll get you on fire for maybe a night, for a worship night or anything
Right.
like that, but then there's nothing to support that, which you feel SALT has done a better job.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
So for anyone that is listening, and if you're going into college and kind of having these questions, I think you're saying that if you need to find the one that encompasses it all.
Definitely try whatever. Just say yes to every opportunity that's given to you.
Yeah. What's the theological word? Fiat. Miss Goshi, you always say that. You're fiat. But okay, so I'm gonna open kind of with a harder question.
Okay.
It's kind of related to college. Everyone knows that when you go to college, it's the first kind of fully independent. And some people usually make decisions. Some people go fully on the secular side, and some people go more on the faithful side. How has it been managing your faith in a kind of a secular world?
I've definitely just kind of realized that I just need to be my own person. And I need to almost just not care what other people think, because it doesn't matter in the end. All that matters is, like, that I'm happy, I have a good relationship with God.
Well, it's funny that you talk about that, because being your own person and kind of not caring what other people think too much, like literally just going, I told you about this, like as soon as we showed up here, I'm like, I'm more nervous than I've ever been to record a podcast. And if we're outside, all these people around us, probably people hearing us, but you gotta be bold with it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, my friend, Noah Engel.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, none of the guys are able to join me this week, but we've been on this kick of like, I don't care. Like, I will, like, as silly as it sounds,
Yeah.
I'll die for the gospel. I'll do whatever it takes,
Right.
And it kind of implies in college of like, okay, maybe instead of going out this night, I'm going to go to this Bible study.
Yeah.
Or my friend that really needs me right now, but I want to go do this, or I actually have a lot of homework to do, so it might actually hurt like my grades, but I'm going to be there because because at the end of the day, what's most important is me being a disciple of Jesus.
Yes. Yeah.
And do you feel like in that aspect with your friends, how has it been an adjustment at college discipling to your friends?
I definitely feel like, so my roommate, when we first got here, I didn't realize that she was also interested in finding a church group because I don't know, I just like I only had one friend in high school that really, like Georgia,
Yeah.
that really like was very faithful like I was, and Georgia was a very big influence to my faith.
Yeah.
So I kind of didn't expect my roommate Alexis to want to find a group kind of like me.
Mm-hmm.
So it definitely helped me find my group
Yeah.
because she was also looking. And when I realized that she wanted to find something exactly that I was looking for too, it just, I don't know, it just kind of, it was like a light bulb moment.
Made it easier for you.
Oh, for sure. Because it definitely helps having people around you that also, like, also have the same, like, beliefs as you. And it kind of just makes you stronger or more bold with it,
For sure.
You're more confident.
100%. Because, like, this, like, and I think this is kind of the pattern of what people fall into at college, is people, whoever you surround yourself with is what you become.
Yeah.
Like, we all know that. And especially at college, when everyone's kind of starting to, maybe the people that never partied in high school or never did any of that, and they start to go out and do that, and you're friends with them, and then you're around them, and then you start to do that as well. Like, you start to go down that path. See, now we have to take a step back. Now we're at college. Who are you going to surround yourself with? These people that might be more for the secular world, which is fine to be around them still.
Yeah.
You're called to be around them. But surround yourself with Jesus more.
Yeah.
And still be like him, and then that might rub off on the people that you're around.
You want to have a good balance.
Yeah.
Because it'll make more of an impact in the end.
Yeah. So that kind of leads to another one of my questions is, has it been a challenge to find kind of like, you got classes, friends, there's always events going on. Has it been hard to find, because obviously worship nights and all that stuff is amazing, but has it been hard to find time, just have one-on-one time with God?
Definitely. I mean, I will say my major's pretty demanding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a health science major, pre-physical therapy track. I find myself up pretty late most nights doing homework. So I do have a hard time just like finding time with just me and my Bible.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I need to work towards more to like manage my time better. But yeah, usually I go to the service on Sundays and I have my small group.
Yeah.
And I have the Thursday night services. And like I'll like pray, of course, but I don't know. I don't find myself with a lot of time with just my Bible.
Yeah. It's hard for
Which is
everyone.
hard.
It's hard for everyone. I can say it myself. It's been a little minute sometimes, because you get caught up in what's next. You have a to-do list, but I kind of talked about this last podcast, but in the same way, what you are doing is good. You going to your classes, you going to Salt, you going out with your friends and discipling to them and showing love to them. That is still discipleship. That is still growing in a relationship with God. Just because we aren't in our Bible doesn't mean we're not getting closer to God. Which kind of, like, a lot of people, because we're so, like I said, so caught up in checklists, of like, oh, I didn't pray for 5 minutes today, and I didn't read my Bible for 20 minutes, and I didn't do this, that, whatever, you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
But you forget that God used you when that person really needed you. You know?
Yeah, I think that's something that we don't realize very often at all.
Yeah, and it's something that is critical, because so many people will beat themselves up, and like I know a lot of my friends, they'll get distant from God because they feel guilty that they're not doing the checklists, right?
Yeah.
And that's absolutely not what you should do, and especially if you're a college student and you're transitioning from high school to college. Because do you want to speak on that transition? Was it hard to go from kind of high school classes to then college?
Yeah. At first, it definitely was very different because my classes went from like 25 people to my first lecture having 300 kids in it.
Oh, yeah.
And some of my professors aren't they're not interactive. They just read, explain, and you just sit there, learn, and take notes.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely very different for me because I like to ask questions and challenge ideas quite often.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a big change. I had a hard time navigating that at the beginning. It was very weird because I found myself like just wanting to go drive around with my friends and like my high school group and just like be at home and like spend time with my family. Like if it was a nice day, I'd be like, oh, I wish I could swim in the pool right now with my cousins and everything. So that was hard for sure. I mean, everyone has a hard time transitioning to college.
Yeah.
But it took me about a month to really
settle in.
Yeah, and find peace with myself. And it's nothing about like I literally love it here. I don't think I could see myself anywhere else.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of me trying to figure out who I was, where I am.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So the key part that kind of stuck out to me, so you're navigating, like I would struggle with the same thing. I'm already thinking about that, like when I go to college, like I'm gonna miss like going over to the park, going doing this, and just like on a moment's notice getting in the car, going on a drive or whatever. But how did that reflect in your prayer life? Was there anything, did it reflect in your prayer life, or was it
I found myself praying more because I would just sit there and ask God, like, I just need help.
Yes. Yep.
Like, just give me anything.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, it was just kind of difficult. And especially because Ben and I were not, Ben is my boyfriend. We're not, like, we're long distance.
Yeah.
Well, medium distance, as some people call it. But that was very hard.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we went to high school together.
Yeah.
So I went from seeing him, like, all the time to both of our lives getting really busy at the same time and not having a lot of time to talk.
Yeah.
So that was a very, very hard transition. And I definitely prayed about that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, so in the kind of, I don't know about you, but when I get in those moments where it's like, I have no control over this, and I don't know what you're doing here, and I don't know what I'm doing here, it makes you like feel like you're dependent on God, which is kind of a good place to be. And now, fast forward like a month later, like a month after that, you're like as happy as you can be at this campus that you're like, I wouldn't be anywhere else. And that's kind of the beautiful thing in it. And anyone that might be listening to this that's coming up on the transition to college, learn from Ava, be dependent on God. Because there are going to be a lot of things. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be like, how am I sleeping in the same room with a bunch of different people? You know what I mean? Like, like stuff like that, right? But finding God in the midst of that, even in the busyness and all the craziness, is so critical.
I think finding the right roommate makes your experience 100% better.
Yeah.
Like, I could not be more blessed with Alexis as my roommate. We're pretty much the same person. Like, pretty close.
Yeah.
And like we both like we have so many of the same interests. We go to church together.
Yeah.
We go to small group, and I think having that person there just makes it so much better, because then you know that you're not alone.
Yes.
And even though like I might have been God dependent in that moment, I also had other people that I knew would be there for me and could help me through that time.
Yeah, I think the big thing with that is everyone strives for consistency, right? Because having that, like, Alexis has been consistent for you. You know she's always going to be there for you. You know she's going to be the same person. Sure. She's going to support you in your faith, all that stuff. And again, in a world of going from you had consistency in high school and now that all gets blown up and you're starting brand new, finding any piece of consistency is so important. And that's why God is also important, obviously, because he will always be consistent. He's constant, right?
Oh, yeah. And I feel like the biggest thing that I had a hard time with the consistency was in high school. I had those adults that were there for me. Yeah. Like Mrs. Goshi, Mrs. Busey, Miss Sainer. Yeah. All of like the teachers and staff, like I got really close with them and like they were there for me. Yeah. And so going to college, there's not someone that I can just walk into their office whenever I want to. Yeah. And talk about my life. Yeah. Or what I'm struggling with internally. Yeah. So that was definitely different. Yeah, and that's such a I've never even thought about that. That's such an important aspect, because we forget that those people that are older than us that are able to help us because they have more wisdom than us and they deeply do care for us. Yeah. Yeah, I never really thought about that. That's that thing. I hope I'm not freaking you out.
No, you're not freaking me out. But because I can speak on, there's been similarly, and I think anyone listening can relate, everyone's gone through a time of like a big change or loneliness, right? And I've had a few of them during my life, and everything that it's taught me is kind of what you're saying of like when everything's getting blown up, when you don't know what you're doing, you don't know, like you're even questioning who you are a little bit, like that. I do that all the time. Like, what am I doing? Who am I? Like literally like 2 days ago, I'm like, what is going on? But in those are the moments I just, instead of getting frustrated at God, because a lot of people get frustrated, including me.
For sure.
Being like, you know what? I just trust you, and even if I go down the worst path of all time, throw me in the fire, like the three guys. I don't want to say their names because I'll botch them, but throw me in the fire, and I know I'll be fine because he'll be there with me, right? And I think that's the theme we're kind of getting to here is, it's so unique talking, because we've talked to a few different college people and they've been more further on and you're kind of more early on, so it's nice to hear that coming fresh out of it, like kind of the transition period where we're comfortable now, what that's like.
Right.
Okay. Another kind of hard question.
Okay.
Is it hard? Do you feel like it's harder to talk about God at college? Like outside of SALT?
Honestly, I think it's easier because I'm surrounded by a lot of people that I don't know. And I feel like it's harder, for me at least, to talk to people about God that I've known for a long time. So it's easier to just start a random conversation with a random person about God because they don't know who I am. Yeah. And I feel like I'm making a bigger difference in that way.
I was not expecting that answer. That was good. That was very good. Okay. Because I think everyone, like, at least for me and from a lot of people I've talked to, and especially older people, they will all tell you when you go to college, like, it's harder to talk about God. Really? Like, faith is looked down upon because there's it's a bigger world and there's not as accepting, especially for us. We've grown up in Catholic, grade school, all that and whatever, so it's always been kind of easy to talk about.
Honestly, I think it's easier, especially because there's so many different people here. Like my best friend's roommate's Jewish, and she is curious about Christianity because it's just different from what she's used to at home. Like her whole community at home is Jewish.
Yeah.
So it's kind of easier to just talk about it.
Yeah.
And there's other people that I meet that are like all different kinds of religions.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, like I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
This is what it's like.
Yeah, exactly. And you get to represent that to them, which is a beautiful gift. And I think another beautiful thing that, like, it's similar. I remember thinking about this, like, or my brother telling me this when I was nervous about going, like, freshman year of high school. He's like, dude, everyone is in the same boat as you. He's like, go introduce yourself to someone. Like, everyone wants to make that new friend. Everyone wants to meet that new person.
Right.
Everyone has the same goal. Same thing in college. Everyone's trying to get their degree. Everyone wants to meet new people. Who doesn't like meeting a new good person?
Yeah.
Like, or doing something fun with, or meeting, having another person. So everyone's in the same spot, right? And have you kind of found that theme as well of like, it's easier, do you feel like it's easier to talk to people, or open up to people here, or is it kind of a hard balance?
Definitely a hard balance. When I first got here, I felt like I had a hard time making friends because I'm so used to like my people at home. So I just kind of felt myself closing off from other people. And like, I'd like talk to people, but I'm still trying to learn like where the line is between acquaintance and friend.
Yes.
And I feel like because it's so new, I can't consider people that I've gotten really close with as like one of my best friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because compared to in high school, you already had 4 years with these people and you're kind of
Right.
accustomed to what that friendship looks like. So even when you get a super close friend within a few months, it's still not the same.
Yeah. And I am still learning so much about them every day, every time I talk to them.
Yeah.
So it's just like for me, trust is a big thing and that gets built up.
Yeah, for sure.
And that, like, I mean, I can still struggle trusting someone that I know is a good person, but I just haven't known them for very long.
Yeah.
So I don't know how open I should be with them.
Yeah. No, I totally understand that. And honestly, like a lot of people, including me sometimes, struggle with trusting God even. You know what I mean? Like it's a hard thing to do. And I think like the biggest thing that I've learned through discipleship and just different interactions is like when you first meet someone, it's not, okay, how can I get the gospel to them? Because obviously that's like, that is so important.
Oh, yeah.
But it's more so, how do I get to know them and love on them first? And then that will lead into telling them about Jesus. And if it doesn't lead into telling them about Jesus, then I'm showing them Jesus. And eventually that will lead them to.
Yeah. And kind of back what you said about trusting God, I feel like we create these plans in our head of our future. And it has to go like that.
Yep.
And that is me.
Yep.
So I have a hard time trusting God is gonna take the reins and guide me to where I'm supposed to be, even if it's not where like my long-term plan is.
Yeah.
Which I also struggle with.
Oh yeah.
A lot.
For sure. Especially like that's so real because I struggle with it all the time. With like. And my favorite was Mr. Larlin when he came on. He was like, I just went to God and was like, what are we doing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's how I feel like 24/7. Like, what are we doing here? Like, I thought it was supposed to be like, you were telling me, like, you were guiding me this way and it just took a full 180. Like, what? Like, what are we doing? Yeah, no, that's very true. All right. So I want to rewind in your memory.
Okay.
Right before you went to college.
Okay.
There are probably a lot of questions in your head of like, maybe a little worry, a little doubt, a little whatever, of like, what's this going to look like? What's that going to look like? What were those? And then how did it play out?
Oh. Okay. I was honestly questioning how I'm going to live my life without Ben and Georgia there for me.
Yeah.
Like all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, of course I've found a way to, like, George and I FaceTime almost every day.
Yeah.
Ben and I FaceTime as much as we can.
Yeah.
It's just finding a way to stay close with the people that you care about.
Yeah.
And still, even though they're, like, George is halfway across the country.
Yeah.
So that was, like, the biggest worry of mine.
Mm-hmm.
She's, like, my rock.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I was just very concerned what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I was also, like, wondering how I'm gonna, like, be away from my family as much. And I think I definitely take them for granted sometimes. Especially before I went to college.
Yeah.
Like, I would just plan my days out and, like, do this with my friends, do this with my friends. And I think that I didn't spend enough time with them.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, like, I call my mom 15,000 times a day, and I'm like, okay, look at what I got for breakfast. And that was it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just like those little moments.
Yeah.
I definitely take for granted.
For sure. And now, what a gift that is, because now you appreciate it so much more, right? It's when you get to see Ben, when you get to see Georgia, when you get to see your family, it's like, man, like you know, distance makes the heart grow fonder. Everyone's heard that, but now you're seeing it in your life. And I think another important aspect is, like, I think about this all the time, and I've had a lot of people ask me and be like, Nick, are we still going to be friends at, like, when we go to college? Like, did you ever have one like that? Or are we still going to be friends? Like, I think what Ava just told us, and even through example of us doing this podcast together, is every friendship and relationship is what you make it, right? Whatever energy or effort you put into it, that's what it is, right? And for people doing long distance relationships, it's the same way. Like, do you really want it? Like, I had a meeting on Wednesday with Eric Miller. Love that guy. And he was talking about a situation and this kid said it is what it is. And he got ticked off because he hates that mentality. It is what it is. It is what you make it, right? The same way with your parents. Like, you're really missing your parents, you're really missing Georgia, you're really missing Ben. Instead of just sitting in that sorrow, it's like, I'm going to call them. I'm going to put more effort into this relationship. I'm going to set up these plans. I'm going to make it special. I'm going to do something about it. So it is what you make it. Right? And I think that's something that people overlook is, like, you know, even, I don't want to dig on my brother at all, but he always tells me, he's like, yeah, like, once you go to college, like, not going to be friends with anyone from high school anymore, all this stuff. And like that's kind of a, like, interesting look, but now I'm like, okay, it could be like that, but if both parties don't want to be like that, then it's not going to be like that,
right?
And I think I hope that brings comfort to someone out there, because I know that was a very scary thing, because, like you said, you build these beautiful relationships of, like, you know, you're sitting there like, how am I gonna live my life without these people? I
know. And it's also interesting because there's a bunch of people from high school that go here, and every time I see them, I'm excited to see them.
Yeah. Speaking of that, does Jimmy Fear go here?
Yeah.
Is that him right over there? I was coincidence.
I'm seeing him in my feet.
That's funny. That's funny.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, definitely when I'm here and I see someone from home, no matter, like, how much I talk to them at home, like, for example, I saw someone, we didn't speak at all in high school. Like, I never knew her, and I saw her because one of my friends, Grace, she was staying with her. Yeah. And, like, we just, like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, hey, how are you? And, like, we were just, like, talking. So it's interesting, like, seeing people from high school
Yeah.
that you that like
through association. Yeah.
yes. And when you're here, it's just like who cares if we talk much or not?
Exactly.
It's just good to see someone that you know.
Yes. And you know what's beautiful about that is the classic planting seeds, right? God will, in the same way God will plant seeds in our life that might not bloom in high school, but might bloom in college, right? For example, you're probably way closer with your roommate now than you were even in high school. It's probably because you're probably really close with her, but now even more, right?
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see how God would plant different things and plant different people, and in all aspects of your life, not just in college. They meant you're kind of around them. Listen to half the people that get married. They're like, oh yeah, I knew this person for kind of on and off for 2 years, and then we went on a date, and then now we're married. What? Are you kidding me? It was just sitting there right in front of you.
Right.
But that even more testimony to trusting God's timing, right? Yeah. Okay. So another question that I got for you. So everyone has an opinion on everything, right? And a lot of people, especially in college, take on hard set opinions.
Yeah.
Knowing this, how do opinions of what others think of you at college affect your faith or belief?
Fair. Honestly, I feel like going into college, I've just found myself not really caring about others' opinions as much. The question.
We got a wild Jacob bonus. Hi, former special guest Jacob Bonus making an appearance out in the flesh.
It's such a nice day. I wanted to come say hi.
Yeah.
Have you been doing?
Good.
Good.
We're good.
Good to hear.
We're cooking. We're 30 minutes in.
Nice.
For real?
It's
Yeah,
exciting.
isn't it crazy?
Yeah. I hope the conversation's been good. I just wanted to drop by, say hi. It's so nice to be out here. So
Yes.
I'll catch you guys around.
All right. Bye, Jacob.
See ya.
Okay, so we've talked about kind of the people that you already knew, and then you've talked about SALT a little bit in small group and worship nights and whatever. Have you found any solid faithful friends that you feel like you can text at any time and hey, they're gonna be there for you?
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Okay. And do you feel like that process was easy or?
Honestly, outside of the friend, my roommate, and then Alex and her roommate, outside of that, I think what helped me the most is my 3-hour art class.
That's crazy.
That I feel like I've made a really good friend in that class because we've been in there or sit in there for 3 hours twice a week.
My goodness.
So I don't really know how the credit hours work for that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right.
That's crazy.
But I think it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
for sure.
It shows that okay, I do this all the time. God, why are you doing this bad thing to me? Maybe a little bit more extreme than an art class, but it might sometimes be why, God? Why do you have me in this art class?
Yeah.
And it's and we might not view it as a good thing, but it might take time for it to become a good thing. And I know personally in my life, I had a situation that for 2 months I was just what are we doing here? And I was just begging the Lord, please just get me out of this. I don't want to be in this situation anymore. And then after it, of course, I started reflecting on it. I'm okay, what was the point of that? And then the next day it's answered. It was for one person. You know what I mean? To reach one person. And would I do it all over again just to reach that one person and impact their life with Jesus? Absolutely. Yeah. Right? And I think that's an interesting perspective to have because, we all know the saying of God doesn't, there's no bad for them. There's nothing that comes from God that is bad.
Yeah.
But it might, in our
perspective,
it might feel bad because it's not what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
And so is there any other experiences other than your art class that have been okay, Yeah, that you're just like, this necessarily seems like a bad thing, but it ends up God uses it for good.
Okay, in my past, I've had some not so great relationships. And I mean, of course, I would say I wouldn't want to relive them.
Yeah.
But from what I've learned from them, it has brought me to someone that is good.
Yeah.
And that I cherish a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely is a good example.
Oh, for sure.
Of what you're saying.
For sure. Like, you don't know how good you got it until you know how bad it can be.
Yeah.
And I know about it. I think you know about it.
Yeah.
You know, we won't talk about that. But relationships are such a clear reminder of that. I remember talking to my one friend that I will not name, but she went through what she felt like was a very bad relationship. And she was like, kept asking me, like, what was the purpose of that? Like, I don't know why. And then now she's dating this dude for it's been probably over a year now. And she's like in love with him and is like, I understand now.
Yeah.
Like, I had to understand, like, she was like, if I got this guy when I was supposed to, or earlier on before I had that bad experience, I don't know if we'd still be together. I don't know if I truly appreciate it enough.
It's just like the matter of almost like cause and effect.
Yes. Yeah.
Like everything up to this point had to happen for you to be who you are in that moment.
Oh, yeah. Amen. And I could go down that rabbit hole all day. You know what I mean? Like, even this, like, the fact that it's a 75-degree day in October and we're out here having a podcast.
Yeah.
Who knows what people are thinking when they walk by. But it's just like everything that leads up to this very moment. Ava and I've got fortunately she took me out to Salt on Thursday night, and we've got to spend some good time together before this. So it's like everything that leads up is so critical to the moment. And that's why, even in the bad, that's why I love Paul in the Bible, because it's like, even when you're doing the wrong things, God is still using that.
Yeah.
And that's where everyone goes, well, like, if God knows what's going to happen, and the whole free will thing, this hard question to handle, everyone frays away from it, including me. And it's kind of a mystery, but if God knows what's going to happen and we have free will, it's more so, in my perspective, it's like God will take whatever we give us to make what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of my favorite verses that makes me go, okay, I'm not that important. I forget, I think it's in the Old Testament, I forget what book, but like, my name will be great among the nations regardless. Like, it will be great among my name will be great among the nations. Regardless of Nick Wiersbick, regardless of Ava Heiser, even if we radically mess everything up, his name will eventually still be great amongst the nations, right? And I think that's a comforting feeling of like, okay, a lot of people get on a college campus. I feel like even in my own high school and in different places, I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I need to reach these people. I need to reach my close friends. Put me. I need to do this. No, he's got it. Obviously, I'm going to listen to him, but I don't need to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it's been beautiful talking to you, because you're in the midst of God and just listening and being obedient without feeling the need of, I need to get this. How many students go here? 40,000 plus, or maybe more?
Maybe.
A lot of students go here. I need to get every single one.
Tens of thousands.
Yes, tens of thousands of students. You can even see as we walk by, there's just so many people.
This is empty.
Yeah, this is an empty day. It's like, Ava doesn't have to go convert all those people to followers of Christ. It's not her job. It's God's job, and he chooses who he wants to use for that, right?
Yeah.
In the same way, through our conversation, we've been talking, it's like, it might not be their time right now. And that's a hard thing for me, and I think you've probably experienced this. Have you had a friend that you're like, they're telling you some issues, and you're like, I know the solution for you, and like, you try and talk to them about faith, and it doesn't resonate.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then there's probably some friends that they weren't faithful, and they had the gospel presented to them, and then 3 years later or something like that, then they become super faithful.
Yeah.
Seed was planted earlier on, right? And so it might not be the timing of of your friend right now, that you maybe are like, oh, like if they had the gospel, the depression would go away.
Yeah.
You know, like all these terrible things would go away. The hurt, the pain in their life would go away. It's like, yeah, but they also might need to be going through that season, cause and effect, like we talked about earlier,
Right.
to be able to appreciate the love of God even
Yeah.
more.
And that kind of it relates to like everyone has their own journey of life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Everyone's at their own moment in time.
Yeah, for sure. And for anyone out there, and I know I have friends like this, they're like, I want to be faithful, but like, it doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, how do I do it? And it's like, well, and I think I posted this on my like faith stories not too long ago, and I genuinely just wanted to see what people thought. Like, I don't decide to become a Christian. It's God that decides when I become a Christian.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting to think about, because at the end of the day, he could have had me been faithful since I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be nearly as faithful as I am now if that didn't happen later, right? So if you're sitting there and desiring the Lord, that's good. The seed has been planted. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. It doesn't need to happen like that. I think Ava and I are both evidence of that. And over time, that will radically change. And it might take going to college and getting involved with a group like SALT, going on that retreat, talking to that friend, to lead to that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So okay. So you do feel like you have faithful friends on campus.
Yeah.
Blessing for that. That is so amazing. Do you feel like so obviously they are very important to you, and you probably do a lot of stuff with them. Do you feel like God time with them happens a lot, or is it more so like we're just like, I know they're faithful, like I know, and I like being around them because they are faithful, and I know they're good influences for me? Or is it more like this is a nice person to go to when like I'm really missing Ben, or like, you know what I mean, or like I'm really missing home, and I really need, like, I cannot talk to anyone else about this, like I'm gonna go to that?
Yeah. I feel like I just feel comfortable around these people.
Yeah.
And like those conversations about God just happen.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I don't force anything to happen, and I just let it happen when it needs to happen.
For sure. No, and I think that's a very important point. It's like those people that are rooted in faith, those friendships that are rooted in faith, it's gonna happen. Like, just talk to them, open up to them.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so it's been, we just had a issue, but we'll throw this in. It's been around 45 minutes, Ava. So, is there really any final points that you want to leave for people? Any advice for college?
Yeah. I would say for anyone that's senior in high school, like Nick, definitely when you're going into college and starting college, just take every opportunity you get. Just say yes to everything, and kind of just do what feels right. And that's what matters most.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Because when you say doing what feels right, like that might be like a confusing thing, because you probably have felt this before, where something it might feel good, and then you're kind of questioning it, and then might not. Like, did you have that experience?
Yeah.
Like, so was that like for college with you? Like, did you always just know what you wanted to go to Iowa State, or?
Yeah, I've always wanted to go here my whole life.
Okay.
So
there's never a moment of doubt.
Well, when I was applying to colleges, I also was thinking of Brown.
Yeah.
And University of North Carolina.
Okay.
And I was gonna do a Brown summer program actually, going into senior year, but it was way too expensive, and I didn't end up doing it. But I got in, so that was like, oh, maybe I can go there.
Yeah.
And then I really thought about it, and I'm like, am I gonna enjoy this atmosphere? And I was pretty sure like I could have a chance of getting in there.
Yeah. And
same with UNC.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just didn't want to confuse myself, because I've been wanting. Scott, go away.
Okay. Continue.
I didn't want to confuse myself, Because I've been wanting to go here my whole life.
Yes. Okay.
And so I just decided I'm not going to apply to Brown or UNC. As much as of good schools they are, I didn't want to confuse myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the important part that you talked about is like, you literally said, my goodness, wait a second.
Yeah.
Right over us. Okay. But you literally said that when you thought about and imagined yourself at Brown, like, the emotion towards that, or it was hard. Like, it wasn't a great positive feelings. It wasn't like a clear decision, right?
Right.
I've had experience before. I don't think I've ever told this story on podcast before, but there was a time when I was on a retreat at Toilege, I was bawling my eyes out to this priest. I was like, I don't know what I should do with podcasts, which sounds crazy because, we reach thousands of people a day, and we reach a decent amount of people every single day. I know we've impacted, probably almost hundreds to maybe even thousands of people in the relationship with Christ. So on face value, it's a very good thing, right? Yeah. But I don't care if it's a good thing what other people think. I care what God thinks of it, right? Yeah. And what God wants us to do with it. Because we might need to take a step back for him to use someone else or use something else, right? And I want to be obedient to him. I don't want to be obedient to the world, right? And so I came into this. I'm like, I don't know what I should do with the podcast. I'm like, how do I navigate this? And he talked about when Jesus talks about good trees bear good fruit and bad trees bear bad fruit. He said the same way in prayer. Good prayers, things that are right for you, will bear good feelings. And when you pray about something and bear bad feelings, then that probably means you're not supposed to go towards that, right? Yeah. And so bringing it back to your situation is like, okay, you prayed, or like when you thought about going to Brown, imagine yourself going to Brown, good feelings came. Like not overwhelmingly positive feelings came. Then you thought about Ohio State, you could really imagine yourself there. You're like, okay, this is where I've always wanted to go. Yeah. And that's just evidence to what he was saying. Yeah. And I can speak in the same way in my life of sometimes they'll give you unexpected answers. Like, obviously it was a little bit like, it makes more sense for you. But speaking from my own personal experience, there's been a situation in my life before where I knew something was bad. I knew it wasn't good for me, and I knew it wasn't good for my relationship with God either. And I was asking God, like, what do you want me to do here? And I prayed about the two options. And the one that was keep me, I basically, should I get out of this situation or should I stay in this situation? Yeah. And the one that had positive feelings was the one to stay in the situation. That makes absolutely zero sense. Yeah. Right? Like, it's like if you were in a very toxic relationship and you know your life would be better without them, and you pray about it and you get good feelings towards staying, when you haven't had good feelings about it for 2 months. Right. Like, what? That makes no sense. Yeah. Right? And so, in similar way, that's a clear reflection of what we can do through prayer, of like, just listen to your feelings, like you said. And so if you're navigating college, if you're navigating anything in life, if you don't know what to do, pray about it, see what feelings come, and be honest with yourself. Yeah. And I think it may be hard to do, but just be open, like you said. Be open to it and what God wants to speak through it. Yeah. So. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to really listen to your feelings sometimes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You need to separate your mind and your heart. Yeah, yeah. And I think, we talked about this, I think, in the first cut, but like, if you're sitting here asking yourself, oh my goodness, if you're sitting here asking yourself, okay, maybe I want to pray about something and see what feelings come, but how do I know what those feelings are? How do I even get those feelings? Yeah. What Ava talked about, visualize it. I had to visualize my life before and after, like if I did this or did that, which one had better feelings. The one, for me, it was the one that made less sense to me, but obviously made more sense to God. Yeah. And that's the one I had to rock with. But for Ava, it was like the one that already made sense to her and removed the doubt. Yeah. I was like, okay, now I know where I'm going. Yeah. And I think God makes things clear to us. Oh, yeah. Like, if someone is in your life
and they're not supposed to be in your life.
Yeah.
If you pray about it, they're gone.
Gone instantly. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Literally the next day. Like,
Yeah.
I've had that. I prayed, like, Lord, you know, I don't think this person's good for me, and take them out of my life. Next day, gone.
Yeah. Or if you're just like, God, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Like,
He will guide you.
take it.
Yep. Exactly.
Just take my problem
Yeah.
and take it into your own hands.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
And the beautiful, again, I'll harp on it again, like what Ava said, your openness to it.
Yeah.
Because if you're going into it with your own expectation of what you think God wants of it, like, listen to how silly, how stupid that sounds. You know what I mean? Like, I'm saying that because I am that stupid person, because I've done that before. But the God of the universe, and the God of the universe, you think you know what He wants. Like, what? Like, He's seen all of history, like, and every time it's like unexpected.
Right.
So, yeah, openness, because it might not be always the answer that you expect or think is the best.
Yeah.
So, any final things, or think that we covered everything?
I think so.
All right. Ava, give us one big final clap to let us know.
Right.